What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you something a little bit different. You see, today is an important day for the channel, actually, and that is primarily because Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous released 1 year ago today. And I cover this game a lot, I talk about it a lot, but what you may not know, if you've joined the channel more recently for my review content, is that Wrath of the Righteous is basically what propelled my channel with enough growth for me to actually step into it full time. It's not the only thing, of course. I do review a lot of games. I did a ton of Divinity content, which put my channel in a position to then successfully cover Wrath of the Righteous. But nonetheless, today marks, of course, the 1 year anniversary of Wrath of the Righteous being released, but also, this is the day I put in my 2 weeks at my last job before I decided to step into this. Because you see, in the months leading up to the release of Wrath of the Righteous, I had a very good time. Several of those months outpaced what I was making at my actual job. And I was honestly making pretty good money there. If you're unaware, what I used to do before YouTube and everything was sales and sales management. Usually retail, I would often lead teams of like 50 plus people. I was on salary and it was pretty good money. And right as the pandemic hit, I actually stepped away from the salaried position and into something honestly just easier on my time so I could focus more on my son, as I had just become a single parent at that time. So with this extra time on my hands, basically, I was devoting more and more time to my YouTube channel, and what really took off, the content that finally saw some real growth, was Wrath of the Righteous. I played a bunch of games before this, and I actually started reviewing games well before this as well. But a bit before Wrath of the Righteous launched into beta, I had played through Kingmaker 100%, did an entire review on it, then I did a story series, and having done that kind of put me in the perfect place to cover the beta for Wrath of the Righteous. And I covered basically every aspect of it, which really caused the channel to blow up. Now, again, I was working a normal job that entire time. However, on the lead up to the actual release, about 8 months or so, I believe the beta for Wrath of the Righteous dropped in February of 2021. But on the lead up to it, I was making more money at YouTube than I was actually working, basically. So when Wrath of the Righteous launched, it got even bigger, actually. So if you're unaware, I got a review copy for Wrath of the Righteous for all of my coverage for it, and I got it about a week or so early, and I poured all of my time into playing Wrath of the Righteous that week. So when the game launched, I had, of course, the launch review up, and then I made a video covering every single mythic path and how to unlock it. My videos were the first up. They were there literally the second the embargo lifted. I had puzzled out and figured out how to unlock every single mythic path. So that combined with the launch review really just exploded my views. To this day, it's actually the single biggest month the channel's ever had. Recently, July actually got incredibly close, but still technically just a little under. My point in telling you this being that all of those views did so well that I was like, there will just never be a more opportune time to try this. Now, like a lot of people, it was obviously just a sort of dream of mine. It was something I did as a hobby, and I was like, if it takes off, it takes off. But you don't ever really expect it to. But here I am with months worth of analytics sitting in front of me. It's outpaying my normal job, and I had this conversation with myself where I was like, I'm not even salaried anymore. I'm kind of just working a job to work it. I already own my house. The mortgage is very reasonable. And with all my experience, I could easily go back to work if this fails. So with all of that in mind, I went ahead and I put in my 2 weeks at work and decided to step into this full time. And it has been quite the ride. Some ups and some downs. I've definitely learned a lot of stuff over the past year, actually. But more than anything, I get to spend every day playing and talking about games, which is an absolute dream. It's something I dreamed about my entire life, actually, but probably not more so than when I was homeless as a teenager. I've talked about this on the channel before, so it's not exactly news, but I was very poor growing up. I was homeless as a teenager in Florida, actually. So for me to go from that situation to doing this full time for an entire year, no less, has been an absolute dream come true for me. And working from home and kind of running my own business here, I get to spend all that extra time with my son as well. Oftentimes we get to play video games together, actually, and it's been a really tremendous experience. And, like anything, it comes with its own downsides, but I think every downside of this this job absolutely pales in comparison to downsides of like every other job I've ever had, because I hated going to work most of the time. It just wasn't fulfilling. It wasn't my dream, you know? So every day was basically just monotony of dealing with sales and all these things I just didn't really care about that much. And I guess more than anything, when it comes to that specifically, I was just so very tired of making money for someone else. Nonetheless, I am actually very thankful for all of my work experience before I jumped into this job, because that work experience set me up almost perfectly to deal with the business side of running a YouTube channel. You guys, of course, watch the videos, but what you don't see is all the emails going back and forth about review copies, embargoes. If I do a sponsorship, there's contracts involved. And all of my work experience in sales actually was perfectly in line with learning how to do a lot of this stuff. So it was something I never really missed a beat on. It was very just, I went from my job to now I'm doing this, but the work itself in terms of the actual business part, the paperwork, the financials, the actual running a business, easy peasy. Stepped right into it like it was nothing, because it's kind of what I was already doing. For the last part of this video, I just kind of want to talk about a few random things I've enjoyed and kind of experienced over the past year. For starters, I feel like I've gotten to a really good place with my review content. It's not perfect, of course, and at the end of the day, it's very subjective. This is YouTube after all, so there are some people who just aren't going to like the sound of your voice. But nonetheless, I am, at this point, very proud of the reviews I put out. I feel like I really cover a game very thoroughly. I present it to people, give them as much information as possible so they can make their own decision on whether or not to buy it. And while it's a lot to kind of explain in a video, but like the minutia of making those reviews and doing it efficiently is something I have really kind of latched onto over the last year. And I think the growth of the channel really reflects that. Now, in terms of Wrath of the Righteous specifically, it's 1 year anniversary too. I love this game. I have not played just about anything more, and I'm so glad that the post-launch support has been pretty continuous. I know some people don't like the DLCs, and with valid enough complaints, but nonetheless, that is a game that has seen a lot of support in the last year. 3 DLCs, tons of patches, they've got an enhanced edition on the way, more DLC to come actually, which of course gives me more to cover and report back to people. And I think the kind of experience of sharing Wrath of the Righteous, particularly with a community that I've become so very involved in, has also been a really joyful experience for me actually, because when I was in high school, that was a time when, you know, being a nerd wasn't cool. Like, you would definitely get beat up. But nonetheless, I still played this stuff during high school, and then being able to now, as an adult, kind of chase that passion and cover like the best game for this particular setting and tabletop RPG is truly mind-blowing. I honestly wish someone could go back in time and tell homeless me that that was going to be a thing, because it's basically everything I've ever dreamed of. That's pretty much all I've got for you guys today. I know it was a little rambly. I didn't want to script this as much, and I kind of just wanted to talk off the cuff about the past year and things I've enjoyed, things I've learned, that type of stuff. But more than anything, I want to take this moment in time to thank you all for watching, because at the end of the day, I could not do any of these things if you guys didn't click on the videos. So while it may not seem like much, I am nonetheless eternally grateful for that. And I know it can sound a little generic when I say it over and over again in every single video and everything, but honestly, thank you guys. I literally could not be here doing this in the way that I'm doing it without you. Now, honestly, if nobody was watching, I'd still be making the videos like I did for roughly 6 years before the channel took off and I could do it full time. Plenty of videos on this channel if you look back far enough where I've got like less than 100 views, but honestly, this is an absolute dream come true for me. There's nothing else I'd rather be doing, and I just cannot thank people enough for giving me this opportunity simply by watching. So while it may be my first full year doing this, thank you guys so much for watching and allowing it to happen. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed hearing me talk about this. But regardless of all that, thank you. May you wander in wisdom and have an amazing day.